This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students. Now for NEET 2024 we are going to the next chapter for preparing for this NEET exam, the coming NEET exam. We are moving to chapter 5, Morphology of Flowering Plants. As I said, first we will complete the botany chapters, all the botany chapters, so that you will get a continuity of the subject. Like we are learning about the basic classification, plant kingdom classification, then about the plant morphology we are learning, then we are going to the anatomy part, so that you can connect all these. If you are getting some connected questions, it will be easy for you to answer. Then slowly we'll move to the zoology. Like this, we'll connect each zoology portion and we can learn. Okay, so now after the plant kingdom classification, after learning the plant kingdom classification, like we have learned about angiosperms in that, or the flowering plants we have learned. So here now we are learning the fifth chapter, which is about the morphology of flowering plants. So in this chapter for NEET syllabus, we have morphology and modifications, tissue, anatomy and function of different parts of flowering plants, that root, stem, leaf. Then about inflorescence, we need to learn different types of inflorescence, then about flower, fruit, then how seed formation is happening, and about different families like Malvaceae, Cruciferaceae, Leguminosae, Compositae, and Graminae. So in different families, all these plant families, what is the difference in the flowering, in the plant habit, everything we can learn. Slight differences in each plant group. Clear? So first we are moving to the chapter. So in this chapter, morphology of flowering plants, you need to learn about root, stem, leaf, then about the inflorescence, then the flower, fruit, and seed, then a typical flowering plant. About that, we are learning how some semi-technical description we need to learn about some flowering plants, like selected ones. Then the important families, description of some important families also we need to do. Okay, so here you know that see higher plants, or there is a wide range in the structure of higher plants, right? So this will be always the wonder for us. Like each and every plant, there will be slight variation, like plant groups you can see, right? All flowering plants are not similar, they have slight differences, even though they have a large diversity in the angiosperms or in the flowering plants. Like external structure, they'll be having difference, right? External structure, what is external structure? External structure is that is called as morphology, right? And all these are characterized, this morphology or the external structure is characterized by the presence of leaves, stem, flower, fruits, roots, all these things, right? See, based on the classification, plant classification, which is based on the morphological features and the anatomical or the other features, like in the plant kingdom classification, we have learned how to classify this, right? In the biological classification, how to classify the biological organism, that we have learned. And in the plant kingdom, in plants, among plants, how the classification is done, that also we have learned, right? So here we are going to understand the higher plants. Okay, so in different parts and the adaptations, what and all adaptations plants have, and according to their environment, how they are getting adapted, or the various habitats, for that how it is getting adjusted, and for protection, what and all they have, how they are doing the food storage. So all these things we can, or what and all structures are helping for all these functions. So all this we are learning in this chapter. So first we will move to the important topic, root. Okay, so here first we are learning about root. Okay, so roots we can tell some main features like roots. We know they are positively geotropic. Then another feature is they are positively hydrotropic. But they are negatively phototropic, right? Towards water it will move, right? Because they are the absorbing structures of water, right? They are absorbing water, and they will move towards the soil, right? They have the geotropic, they are positively geotropic, and they will move positively towards water. They will move away from what? Light, right? Because they are going inside soil. Generally they are going inside soil, so we can tell they are negatively phototropic. Which part? The shoot will go towards light, because they have the photosynthetic structures, or they need or those structures need what? Light. Okay, so root generally it is negatively phototropic, positively hydrotropic, and positively geotropic. And there are different types of root, we can say, that is tap roots, types of roots. Which are the types of roots? Tap roots, then adventitious roots, fibrous roots. Okay, tap roots, fibrous roots, then adventitious roots. So these are different types of roots. So here you can see fibrous root, adventitious root, tap root, everything you can see here. Here in tap root, we'll see one by one. In tap root, this is mostly seen in dicot plants. In most of the dicot plants, most of the dicot plants, in them, the direct elongation of the radicle that is leading to the formation of primary root. Okay, direct elongation, radicle and plumule, all these things we have learned. So most of the dicot, in most of the dicot plants, radicle that will directly elongate, and that will lead, radicle will form the root system, right? And plumule will form the shoot system. So the radicle that is leading to the formation of primary root. And this primary root that will bear the lateral roots of several orders, and that are called as the secondary root, tertiary roots and all. Okay, so here you can see the main one, the thick one. This is the thick main one, the center one, that is the main root. And here the supporting roots or lateral roots are getting developed. So the main one, that is a primary root, and that main root is bearing lateral roots, and these are called as secondary roots, tertiary roots and all. Okay, so the primary root and its branches, that is forming the taproot system. Primary root plus branches, that forms the tap root system. Okay, so primary root and its branches constitute the taproot system. Example, we can say, see here also example, that is important. Example is mustard plant. And so many plants you might have seen like this. They have the taproot system. See, in most of the dicot plants, they have this. So direct elongation of radicle, which makes the main root, and it will be having the supporting roots like secondary and tertiary roots. So the primary roots and its branches form the taproot system. And here example we need to learn, that is mustard plant. Next comes the adventitious root. See, adventitious root, like not in all the plants. In some plants, like grass, monstera, then the banyan tree. See, here you can see these roots, some kind of special roots. Okay. Banyan tree. So in all these things, other than the radicle. So here we said in the taproot system, the main root is developing from the radicle. So other than the radicle, roots are developing from some other parts, which is other than the radicle. Roots develops from other parts other than radicle. Okay, so that kind of roots, the roots which are developing from parts of the plant other than the radicle, that is called as adventitious root. Okay, here adventitious roots means in banyan tree and all you can see adventitious root, and here you can see the adventitious root. So that is developing from the other parts of plant and not from the radicle. Such kind of roots are called as adventitious root. And next comes the fibrous roots. Fibrous roots. Let's see what is this fibrous roots. See, in monocot plants, primary root is short-lived in monocots. Primary root, that is short-lived. Okay, and this primary root late, so it is short living, which is the primary root that will get replaced by large number of root. So this primary root will get replaced by many roots, like many number of roots. Okay, so many number of roots. So these roots, they are originated from the base of the stem, and that will form the fibrous root system. Okay, so from the base of the stem, numerous roots will form. So first, the primary root which is forming in the monocot plants, that is short living. So that will go off. Then that is getting replaced by numerous roots which is starting from the base of the stem. Okay, so that kind of root system, that forms the fibrous root system. Example, we can say wheat plant. Okay. See, what are all the function of this root system? Functions of root system. So what is the main function of this root system? Actually, absorption of water, right? Absorption of water. So while absorbing water, that also absorbs minerals and other nutrients also, right? Nutrients and minerals also it is absorbing along with the water absorption, and that is providing proper anchorage to plant parts. So it is providing anchorage, then reserve food material, storage of reserve food material, reserved food material storage, that is taking place, right? In sweet potato, then carrot, radish, all these are root modifications. So that is for the storage. Okay, and here plant growth regulators that are also getting synthesized. plant growth regulators. So what are all the main functions of the root system? Absorption of water and minerals, and that is providing proper anchorage to the plant parts. Then reserve food materials are getting stored. Then synthesis of plant growth regulators. Plant growth regulators, in short, we can say PGR, plant growth regulators. Okay, so these are the main functions of root system. Clear? Now we can see the regions of the root. See here you can see the root. This is a structure or the regions of root tip. You can see in this figure regions of root tip. Okay, so which are all region you can see this root that is covered at the tip or at the apex by a thumb-like structure. Can you see this? A thumb-like structure is there which is called as root cap. This is the thumb-like structure which is covered at the tip, which is called as root cap, and that is protecting the tender apex of the root. Okay, this root cap is protecting the tender tip of the root, because root is making its way through the soil, right? So that time root cap is protecting the root. Okay, and here you can see like a few millimeter gap. Here you can see above the root cap. See here we have marked as region of meristematic activity. This is the region of meristematic activity. That means cell division will take place here. Okay, so the cells of this region or this meristematic activity region, they are very small and they are very thin walled. Okay, cells are very small and thin walled and they have dense protoplasm. So which and all root cap, about root cap you need to say. Then meristematic region of meristematic activity, which is having thin walled cells, and this cells are very small and they have dense protoplasm and they have the meristematic activity. So meristematic activity in the sense they are under division continuously, they will divide, repeated division is taking place. Okay, and see here division is taking place means for what purpose it is dividing? It is dividing, no more number of cells are getting produced, right? And cells which are near to this region, that will undergo elongation. Okay, rapid elongation. So here you can see region of elongation. Okay, and this elongation, region of elongation and region of enlargement, right? So these regions are responsible for growth and enlargement of the root. Region of elongation. So these both region here cell division is taking place, and this which is undergoing rapid elongation and enlargement, both these regions are responsible for the growth of root in length. So that region is called as region of elongation. Here this region of elongation is responsible for the root enlargement and for responsible for the root growth. Okay, so the cells of elongation zone, they will gradually differentiate. See elongation zone, here you can see many cells. So these cells, they will slowly differentiate. They will get separated and they will get matured, right? So this zone, which is near to the region of elongation, here next to the region of elongation, here you can see region of maturation. So that is the region of maturation, and here from this region some of the epidermal cells, here you can see some of the epidermal cells, they will form fine and delicate structures which is like thread like structures that forms root hair. Okay, so these root hair that they are helping for the absorption of water and minerals from the soil. So which and all, how you can explain about the regions of root tip? First, this root cap. Then inside that you can see region of meristematic activity. Here continuous cell division is taking place and that cells are thin walled and they have dense protoplasm. Then here region of elongation. Here also this is responsible for the increase in length and growth. Then some of the cells from the region of elongation, they will mature and they will get differentiated. This is called region of maturation. And some of the epidermal cells of this region of maturation, they will form thread-like structures which are forming the root hairs. And these root hairs are helping the plant root to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. Okay, clear? That's a structure of what? Root tip. Okay. Now we need to learn about modified roots. Clear? Now we know what is root and the structure of root. So modified roots, modified tap roots. First we learn about modified tap roots which are for storage. Okay. So first here you can see fusiform roots. See fusiform roots, or we can call that spindle roots. Spindle roots, fusiform root or spindle root. So these roots, fusiform root or spindle roots, these are thicker in the middle portion. You can see in the middle portion it will be thicker. Middle it will be thicker. Okay, and it tapers on both the ends. On both the ends it is getting tapered, right? This end and this end you can see it is getting tapered. Both ends it is in tapered form, but in the middle portion is thicker, right? Next comes, so here for fusiform root, you need to learn one example, radish. The common example is radish. See, next time when you're getting a radish, just check middle portion will be thicker and it tapers at both the ends. So that is an example. Radish root is an example for fusiform roots. Radish is an example for fusiform root or spindle root, and this is a modified tap root for storage. First we are learning about tap root, that is the main root. It is modified taproot modifications. That's what we are learning. So the taproot modification, among that modified taproots, especially for storage, it is modified. Example, radish. Radish is a fusiform root or spindle root, which is a modified taproot for storage. Okay, so the middle portion will be thicker and tapers at both the ends. Yeah. Next comes conical root. Second type is conical root. Conical root, actually conical root, these are thicker at their which side? Upper side. Here upper side is thick, right? And at lower side that tapers. Here middle is thick. This is taper. This is also. Okay. Here conical root. In conical root, the upper side, the roots are thicker at their upper side. Thicker at upper side and tapering at lower side. Lower. Clear? So which one is an example? Which one we can say as an example for this Modified taproot for storage. Carrot is the best example. Carrot is the best example for conical root. Just think about the shape, conical shape or a cone shape it is, and thicker at the top or the upper side and tapering at lower side. Carrot is the best example for conical root. Just like C conical root, carrot. Okay, example is also starting with letter C. Next comes napiform root. Napiform root. The third one is the napiform root. Say in napiform root, here the root, you can see napiform root becomes swollen and spherical. Here swollen and it is spherical at the upper end, right? Swollen and spherical at upper side, right? And it is tapering or it's forming a thread-like structure at the lower side. Thread-like at lower end. Okay. Example, so napiform you can see swollen and spherical shape at the upper end and it is forming a thread-like structure at the lower side. So beetroot, turnip, all these are the examples. These are the examples for which one napiform root. Okay. Next comes tuberous roots. Tuberous root, the fourth one is tuberous roots. Here, you know, this type of root, they doesn't have a regular shape. Any portion of the root can become swollen and it can become fleshy. Okay, so tuberous root, they doesn't have a specific shape. See, we cannot say in this, we cannot say this portion will be swollen and this portion will be in a tapering mode. So we cannot say in tuberous roots like that. So roots do not have regular shape and any portion of the root can become swollen and it can become fleshy. So example, one main example is mirabilis for tuberous one. Okay. Then comes the nodulated root. Fifth one. Fifth one is here you can see nodulated. Okay, so nodulated roots means nodules are formed on branches of roots. See here you can see many branches for this root and on the branches you can see root nodules. Right, nodules are present and these nodules are formed on the branches of root for nitrogen fixation because they are formed because of the presence of nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium and all. Okay, that's why those root nodules are present. So in leguminosae family, like we can see, say like pea, gram, bean, on such leguminous plants will be having this root nodules. See, nodulated root means they'll be having or they can see the presence of root nodules on root branches. And what are these root nodules? They are the association of the nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium, which are the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Such bacteria, just an example I'm saying, rhizobium or the nitrogen fixing bacteria which will be present on the roots. So that is forming the root nodules. And leguminosae plants which are belonging to leguminosae family or which are related to the um, pea or such type of plants, pea, green gram and all gram type of plants in that or in leguminosae family, You can see this kind of root nodules. Okay, so example we can say that generally we can say plants of Papilionaceae family. In Papilionata you can see this, and subfamily we can say Leguminosae. Okay, Leguminosae like legumes, Leguminosae family, and root nodules we can see in such type of plants. Okay. Next is taproot modification for respiration. So these modifications, that is for storage, right? This modified taproot modification, all these are for storage of food. Conical root, fusiform, napiform, tuberous or nodulated, all these are storage. Next comes taproot modification for respiration. These are the modified taproots. Modified taproots, and this modification is for respiration. Taproot modification for respiration. Okay, or respiratory roots we can say. So in swampy areas or marshy areas, we can see scarcity of oxygen in marshy areas. There scarcity of what? Of oxygen we can see, and some branches of tap roots of the plants. Here in this region you can see these plants. You might have seen nowadays while going for tour and all, you might have observed in such areas what will happen. Those plants, they will form the branches of tap roots which are growing vertically upward and which are coming on the surface. Okay, so these are the branches of roots which are coming upward on the surface. So these roots, see, this is the like in mangroves, and you can see this mangrove plants and all, in them or in the swampy or marshy areas you can see roots will form vertically. The branches of roots will come vertically in the upward position, it will come, right? And that will come to the surface. See, water is here, and on water surface you can see the roots, vertical roots are there. So these roots are called as what? These roots are called as pneumatophores. See, pneumatophores. Pneumatophores are there, and these pneumatophores, they have minute pores. Okay, see, these pneumatophores, they are the vertical roots which are for respiratory purpose. So they have very minute pores on that, which are called as nematodes. Nematodes, or we can call as lenticles. Sorry, lenticels. So these uh, pneumatophores, pneumatophores, which are the roots, vertical roots which are growing upward and which is coming on the surface, right? So they have minute pores which are called as nematodes or lenticels, and through this lenticels you can see the small dot like structures we have marked here are small dots. So these are the openings or the lenticles, sorry, lenticels, and these lenticels, through this lenticels the air is entering inside the plant and plant is getting oxygen for respiration. Okay, so what we said in the starting, the roots are positively geotropic, we said, right? It is going towards soil, but in this case just understand this pneumatophores or these roots, pneumatophores are negatively geotropic. They are coming against or from the soil, it is coming upward because that need oxygen. Here the scarcity of oxygen is there in marshy areas. So what plant will do? It will produce root branches which is coming away from the soil and which is coming to the open surface, and there will be pneumatophore. Pneumatophore means the opening, and there will be small lenticels, like, or the openings or the pores which are called as lenticels, through which air is entering inside the root, and that's how the oxygen is entering inside the plant, and that is used for respiration. So pneumatophores, or this kind of roots which are seen in mangroves and all, they are negatively geotrophic. Negatively geotrophic. This is a very important question. They are negatively geotrophic. Okay. An example, mangrove plants, you can write as an example Rhizophora, then Heratia. Rhizophora is an example, and mangrove plants. All these are the examples. Okay. For taproot modification for respiration. Okay. See, here you can see the breathing pores. These breathing pores are pneumatodes. Then here you can see this is a normal root, and from there the upward structures are there, right? And here in mangrove plants you can see example what we wrote. Example Rhizophora is an example for this. Clear? Next is modification. So taproot modifications we have seen, one is for storage and another one is for respiration, right? Next one, modification of adventitious roots. Modification of adventitious root. Adventitious root modification, see, we can say fasciculated root, then beaded or moniliform roots or beaded roots. Next one, tuberous adventitious root, then stilt root or brace root. This one, and root, roots, foliar roots, sucking roots are there, annulated roots are there. So different types of root you can see in modification of adventitious roots. Okay, so first let's see this one, fasciculated roots. See this fasciculated root. In fasciculated root, this we said, now we are learning about the adventitious root modifications. So these are the adventitious roots which are occurring in cluster. See, you can see cluster occurs in cluster. Which one? Fasciculated root occurs in cluster, and all of them, you can see all the roots, they are swollen. All are swollen. In dahlia, asparagus and all, you can see this type. Example, dahlia, then asparagus. In both you can see this kind of root modification. Fasciculated roots, they are occurring in cluster, and all of them you can see here, all of them are swollen, and examples are dahlia and asparagus. Okay. Next, about the beaded or moniliform roots. This is the second one, beaded one or moniliform, like it's like a beaded structure, right? So this beaded or moniliform roots, moniliform or beaded roots. Here you can see these roots swells up like a bead at different places, right? At different places you can see a bead shaped structure. So these roots, they are they have the swelling, or they swells up like a bead at different places after regular intervals. Regular intervals, it forms bead-like structure, bead-like swellings, right? Examples: bitter gourd, Momodica, that is bitter gourd, then Portulaca, Vitis, that means grapes. In all these things you can see moniliform or beaded roots. Okay, then tuberous adventitious roots. Next one is tuberous adventitious root. The first picture you can see here. Third type is tuberous adventitious roots. Okay, so in tuberous adventitious roots, food is stored in these roots. Okay, food is stored in tuberous adventitious roots. So therefore that is becoming swollen, and that shape will be irregular, and these roots have no definite shape. So they doesn't have any particular shape. It is having irregular shape, and it will be in swollen form because of the food storage. So food is stored in tuberous adventitious roots, and that will become swollen and irregular shape. Example, here we can say sweet potato. Sweet potato. Here it is a tuberous adventitious root modification. Which one? Sweet potato. See, in this chapter you can expect question like sweet potato, that is an example for taproot modification or adventitious root modification, or like they'll give in adventitious root modification itself, they'll give tuberous root, or fasciculated one, or any other, it is for respiration or it's for food storage, like that. Definitely they'll give confusing answers. Okay, so in the adventitious root modification, it is a tuberous adventitious root modification which is having a swollen structure and irregular shape, and it is mainly for food storage. Example, sweet potato. Okay, so in that way you need to learn example, from example to the description also you should know, from the description with example also you should learn. Okay, so tuberous adventitious root, food is stored in this root, and they have irregular swollen structure. Example is sweet potato. Sometimes they may ask the scientific name also, Ipomia batatus. Okay, Ipomia batatus, that is the scientific name. Next comes the stilt root. Stilt root is otherwise called as brace roots, or we can call as brace roots. So these roots, they are arising from the lower node. Okay, here you can see they are arising from the lower node. It is arising from the lower node, and then it is entering to the soil. Right, this is the soil, and this from the lower node it is arising and it is entering to the soil. So these roots are supporting. Right, it is going inside the soil, so it is doing the supportive work. Right, in sugar cane, maize and all you can see. Example, sugar cane, maize, and pandanus. See, here you can see it's how this is the screw pine. Screw pine root, it is shown here. So this is the stilt root, and here you can see these are the leaves. So here Pandanus, that is the screw pine. Okay, the common name is screw pine. So this is the picture of pandanus or the screw pine. Here you can see the adventitious root, which is called as prop or stilt root or brace root. So it is arising from the lower node and it is doing the supporting work. Okay. And here one more root you can see, annulated. Right. Annulated root. See this annulated root, in this you can see roots which in this you can see the swellings also, right? With swellings which are present in a series of rings, right? Swellings. So you can see some kind of swellings and it is in the form of rings. Okay, series of rings on the root. The swelling occurs in a series of rings on the root. Clear? So that is annulated root. Next comes here you can see prop root or pillar root. Prop root or pillar root. So what is this prop root or pillar root? See here in the first picture you can see the prop root or pillar root. In this, hanging roots which are arising from the branches of plant. See this is plant and plant branches you can see. So these roots are hanging roots which are arising from the plant branches and that will grow downward towards the soil. Right, from the branches it is arising and it is growing downward towards the soil. So this is giving support, supportive function it is doing for that tree. Example, you might have seen this in banyan tree, right? In banyan tree you might have observed this feature, hanging roots which are arising from the branches of plant and it is growing towards, it is growing downward towards the soil. Okay, so this is doing the supportive function. Next comes the climbing root. Okay, climbing root, this is arising from the nodes, from nodes. Okay, climbing root is coming from nodes and that is helping in climbing, helps in climbing of that particular plant. See, for example, you can see in money plant, you can see climbing roots, and in black pepper also, black pepper. See, it will keep some nearby trees, will plant nearby other trees which are having slight grip, right? So these roots will get attached to that plant and it will grow on that plant, right? It is used for climbing purpose. Okay, beetle and black pepper, money plant, all these are having climbing root. And next, foliar roots. Here you can see the foliar root. Foliar roots, they are arising from the leaf, foliar portion, or the from leaf it is arising, this type of root, and they are called as foliar roots, roots arising from the leaf, right? So for example, bryophyllum, bryophyllum, see like this it is growing, means this part we can detach from this portion and it will grow as a separate plant because it is having root, leaf, everything separately, right? So bryophyllum, that is an example for foliar roots, foliar roots, or otherwise we can call as epiphyllus, right? Then sucking roots or hostorial roots are there, sucking or hostorial roots, that is also there. See, sucking roots or hostorial roots, or we can call them as parasitic roots. See, in parasitic plants, roots enter to the host plant and that is absorbing the nutrition from the host, right? Example, the sucking root or hostorial root or parasitic root you can see in cuscuta, then dendropto, then viscum. All these are the example for sucking roots or hostorial roots, or otherwise we can call as parasitic roots, because mainly it is seen in parasitic plants to absorb the nutrients from the host plant. Clear? So these are the main characters about root you are learning. Then the structure of root tip, then different root modification, tap root modification, then adventitious root modification with example you are learning. Okay, so now the root portion is completed, and the next class we will be learning about stem and the other portions. Clear? Thank you.